a bit about regions. Then we learned about edge locations. Then from edge locations, I think we now learned about content delivery networks, CDNs. Then I think we talked about Amazon. Did you talk about Amazon Cloud 53? Abi, what is that thing called?
Okay, Amazon Route 53. Okay.
Route 53, yeah. I think basically that's what I remember.
Fantastic. We were talking about the AWS global infrastructure.
Yes.
AWS global infrastructure, where we talk about how AWS sets up, ensuring that there is high availability, there is resilience, okay? And we said that in that regard, we talk of AZ, and we said AZ means what?
Availability zone.
Availability zones. And we'll say that availability zone is what? It's a group of
data center or group of data centers within a particular location.
Within a region. Within a
region, yes.
Okay. Now, thank you. And we discussed that regions are what? What was our definition for region?
I don't even remember our definition for region.
Okay. Now, we say that regions contains. Yes, we said regions contains availability zones, and that they are connected by high what? High speed fiber connections. That we use fibers to connect them, and these fiber connections are controlled by what? By AWS themselves. And we said that each time there is a downtime, AWS advised that you run your applications in at least how many availability zones?
Minimum of 2 availability zones.
Thank you. Minimum of 2 availability zones, which means that if there is a fire outbreak or a downtime in an availability zone, the second availability zone is still up and running, and all your services are up in that zone. Now, we explained something about CDNs, right? Okay.
Yes.
What do we say CDN is for?
We said CDN is to help with speed. Like it's copying data from it's like where data is downloaded for other availability zones to be able to access it.
Okay, somebody want to give us another explanation? We said that
content delivery.
Okay. All right, I'm listening. Okay. Talk.
I don't know if I'm missing it up. Was it about in content delivery network we talked about catch files?
Exactly, catch files.
So we said that they have to copy our I cannot define it though.
But you understand what we are saying. That
yes.
Okay.
But I just cannot put
It
English.
keep copies of your applications, of your pages, of your web in an edge location that can be easily accessible, so it makes it faster for customers who are not in a particular region to access those information. And we said AWS uses what? They use AWS Cloud Front to achieve this process of CDN. And we said when we want to choose a region, we need to look at
4 factors.
What are the 4 factors? Each person.
Compliance.
Thank you. Somebody else.
Proximity.
Availability.
Availability of what?
Availability of some services. Some services might not be available in some regions.
Availability of some features that are not yet what maybe up in a particular region. Then the fourth one,
Pricing.
pricing. Thank you. All right. So we said in terms of compliance, either governmental, who can give me an instance of what that could be, or a particular region that uses
Uh,
this kind of thing?
China.
China.
China,
Thank
for
you.
example,
Okay. China.
Eurozone, then US as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So, and when it comes to features availability, we do not really have a particular example, but we already understand what we're talking about, that some might not be available. But there is a particular aspect that talks of pricing, and we have a region that is synonymous to, which is what?
Maybe now Brazil.
Brazil, Sao Paulo. That because of their tax, high rate of task, you have to now, you can choose to run your services in another region other than using Sao Paulo. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. So we're going to today. So someone to help us. Let's go with Mr. Triumph, the AWS Management Console.
Can
What?
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. How to provision
Okay.
AWS resources. So
How
that's
to
what we're talking about.
provision AWS resources. We've been talking about a few different AWS resources as well as the AWS global infrastructure. You may be wondering, how do I actually interact with these services? And the answer is APIs. In AWS, everything is an API call. An API is an application programming interface. And what that means is there are predetermined ways for you to interact with AWS services. And you can invoke or call these APIs to provision, configure, and manage your AWS resources. For example, you can launch an EC2 instance, or you can create an AWS Lambda function. Each of these would be different requests and different API calls to AWS. We can use majority of the following: the
Thank you.
AWS Management Console.
Thank you. Now, in as much as we have actually, in our previous classes, we've launched an EC2 instance before. We've seen how it is. We've used the Amazon EC2 instance to create a web application, or probably just install an Apache 2. But then we need to look at it in depth now. And what we did then was to use the AWS Management Console. Basically, we have three ways. Of course, it's more than these three, but we have majorly three ways through which we can provision our services or resources in AWS. Okay, if we go back to our coffee shop, you know, sometimes you might choose you want to make tea, right? You can choose that you will do the tea using cold water. Am I correct? And some other time you feel, well, I don't want to use cold water.
I
Let
think
me
someone
use
is
hot water.
something. I don't know.
That's another means through which you can still make your tea.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I think someone is in the kitchen or something, and the person is dragging plate or whatever.
Okay. Uh,
Sorry, that was
Mr.
the African.
Okay, so if you're not talking, you just mute. Thank you. All right. So we can choose to make our tea, like I was saying, with cold water manually. There are some other ways you can make it with hot water, and you can still make this thing using um, machines. So majorly we have these three using the management console, which is our primary way, and this is for people who are just coming into AWS. Then we can use the command line. Now, you see why when we're dealing with Linux, I keep saying CLI, CLI, CLI. So that's where we have an advantage. And then we can use the AWS Software Development Kit. You'll be hearing it as SDK. Most of you are into software development, are already familiar with SDKs, or various other tools like AWS Elastic Beanstalk, and AWS Cloud Formation to create requests and send to AWS APIs to create and manage resources. So let's start with the AWS Management Console. Mrs. Ivera, can you read for us, please? Are you there, Ms. Vera?
Yes, sir. Sir, please can somebody read first? I would just give me
Okay,
like few
okay.
minutes.
All right, let me
Thank you,
read.
sir.
I'll read.
Let
The
me see.
AWS Management Console. The AWS Management Console is a web-based interface for accessing and managing AWS services. You can quickly access recently used services and search for other services by name, keyword, or acronym. The console includes wizards and automated workflows that can simplify the process of completing tasks. You can also use the AWS Console mobile application to perform tasks such as monitoring resources, viewing alarms, and accessing billing information. Multiple identities can stay logged in into the AWS Console mobile app at the same time. This is great for getting started and building your knowledge of the services. It's also useful for building our test environment of viewing AWS bills, viewing monitoring, and working with other non-technical resources. The AWS Management Console is most likely the first place you will go when you are learning about AWS. And that is what we have actually done. That's the first aspect that we have taken care of or getting familiarized with. I want to see if there's anyone, if you can see my screen. Are you still seeing my screen, please?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. So,
Okay, just a minute. All right. You are not seeing my screen again, right?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Are you scared? Are you scared I will hack your device?
No, I actually wanted to show you the AWS console. Can you see my screen now? All right.
Yes, yes.
All right. So this is the AWS Management Console. And while we were reading, we said we can you can quickly access recently used services and search for other services by what? By name, by keyword, and by acronym, right? Now, who can give me one of the acronyms that we have learned in AWS so far?
EKS,
EC2.
You say?
EC2, EKS, EC2.
Okay,
We
so
have
hold on. Let's even start with EC2, right?
yeah.
EC2. When you type EC2 in the search, you can see that. So that's what they are saying. EKS, let's see. Can we find EKS? Did you see? Elastic what?
Elastic Kubernetes service.
Service. Now,
Kubernetes.
yes, we talk about ECS, right? Which is Elastic what? Container
Container
Service.
service.
So just having an idea of it, either you use the abbreviation, the acronym, or you are using the full keywords, you are still good to go. So this is the management console where we can move on. So let's move on to the next one, which is the what? The AWS command line interface. To save time when making API requests, we can use the what? The AWS command line interface. AWS command line enables you to control multiple AWS services directly from the command line within one tool. AWS CLI is available for users on Windows, macOS, and Linux. By using AWS CLI, you can automate the actions that your services and application perform through script. I hope you remember then that we said that with just few config batch scripts, we can power up our server and have Apache running. I hope we remember that on our EC2 instance. That's what the kind of thing
Yes.
that the AWS command line gives us. For example, you can use command to launch an EC2 instance, connect an Amazon EC2 instance to a specific auto-scaling group, and more. The CLI allows you to make API calls using the terminal on your machine. This is different than the virtual navigation style of the management console. Writing commands using the CLI makes action scriptable and repeatable. So you can write and run your commands to launch an EC2 instance. And if you want to launch another, you can just run the pre-written command again. This makes it less susceptible to human error, and you can have this script run automatically like a schedule or triggered by another process. This is what just is just saying that. Remember, anytime you want to do vagrant, I think I just gave us some templates. You already read through it, you know that okay, I want my server to be named this also thing, and this one should be named this. You already have a template, and it gives it to you. I want 2 gig, say for instance RAM. I want it to be named DevOps server. That's what the CLI does for us. We move to the next one, the AWS Software Development Kit. Another option for accessing and managing AWS services is the Software Development Kit SDKs. SDKs makes it easier for us to use AWS services through an API designed for your programming language or platform. SDKs enable us to use AWS services with our existing application or create entirely new applications that we run on AWS. So all of these are just stories, but just know that there are 3 major ways through which we can manage our resources. Then we now have this. There are also other ways we can run or manage our AWS environment using managed tools like AWS Elastic Beanstalk and AWS Cloud Formation. We are still going to use these 2 tools, especially when we start doing our DevOps and how to create pipelines. So the AWS Elastic Beanstalk provides us code and configuration settings, and Elastic, all we need to do is we provide our code and configuration. Elastic Beanstalk will deploy the resources necessary to perform the following tasks. It would adjust the capacity, it will do load balancing, it will do auto scaling, and it will check for the application head. That's what Elastic Beanstalk does. All you need to provide is your code and the configuration settings, and every other thing. It will create the EC2 instance underneath for you. It will create the load balancing. It will create auto scaling group for you, and it will check to be sure that the server is working optimally. Cloud Formation. With AWS Cloud Formation, we can treat our code as infrastructure or our infrastructure as code. What are we saying? This is where the real deal is. So you will hear things like ICA. I think some of us must have been hearing that, or IAC, sorry, infrastructure as code. Infrastructure as code. This means that we can build an environment by writing lines of code instead of using the AWS Management Console to individually provision resources. Okay, what am I saying? Very easy. Look at this. Are we seeing my screen, please?
We're
Hello?
seeing your screen.
Okay. So if you look at this, you will see Linux distro, Red Hat, CentOS. You see Linux distro, Debian Ubuntu, Linux distro, SUSE, OpenSUSE. Now, all these three servers, we already learned how to install each of these, right? Manually, if you want to install any of these. But then, how did I come about this? I know most of us already had this knowledge before. This is it. And if I do code dot here, right, it's going to power up my Visual Studio Code. And from here, we can see this is the code. Just this code, all this code here, we can see the what Red Hat CentOS, right? The name I want to give to it. And I went on Vagrant Box and pick CentOS. I picked OpenSUSE. I also picked Ubuntu. And I have, with this code, written codes, I have these three servers up and running. And I can log into each one of them. This is my OpenSUSE here. This is my Ubuntu here. This is my CentOS here. So that's synonymous to what we are saying here, that we can just write a line of code and the code will provision server for us and do everything automatically. So he said AWS Cloud Formation provisions our resources in a safe, repeatable manner, enabling us to frequently build our infrastructure and application without having to perform manual actions. What that does is it shortens the time through which we deploy our applications. Okay, then AWS Cloud Formation is an infrastructure as a code tool that allows us to define a wide variety of AWS resources in a declarative way using JSON or YAML file, text-based document called Cloud Formation templates. Just know that your Cloud Formation templates are written in JSON or YAML text-based document. A declarative format like this allows us to define what we want to build without specifying the details of exactly how to build it. Just like this code that I was sharing. What do we want to build? We want to build this. I gave it this name and I gave it this IP and I opened this particular port on it because I want to be able to access it from my local machine. Once this thing is up, all I need to do is, let me check on my CentOS. If I do if config, is the IP correct? Let me see. I want to see 192.168.56. It says 56.2. Okay, there is it. 192.168.56.100, which is this. Okay, so I go to my OpenSUSE and to be sure it's also having 101. OpenSUSE, if I say if config and let's confirm if it's there, it tells me that what? I can't check with this, so let me do IP add address. Okay, like config. Okay, so let's see if we can install install NetTools. For us to install, I need to use zipper install NetTools, and let's see sudo zipper install NetTools. Okay, so let's give it a while because okay, resolving this dependency, the highest version is already installed. So let's do sudo so if config, let's see, why is this still giving us that? All right, no worries, but let's check our Ubuntu and see if we can get the same IP. If config here says 192.168.56.102, which is correct with this 56.102. All right. So, but I'll get us how to get it in SUSE. So, it makes it easier for us to deploy. Then, what other thing we've explained? So, we are concluding this module, and we say in this module, we've learned about what? AWS region and availability zone. We've learned about edge locations and Amazon Cloud Front. We've looked at the Aws Management Console, Aws CLI, and SDK. We've looked at Aws Elastic Beanstalk and Aws Cloud Formation. I just want us to round up this class and let's look at this question. Mr. Triumph, read this question.
Sorry, sir. Please hold on.
Yeah,
Let me
answer it.
zoom in properly. Okay, which statement is true for AWS global infrastructure? A region consists of a single availability zone. An availability zone consists of two or more regions. A region consists of two or more. C. A region consists of two or more availability zones. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. You said what?
C. A region consists of two or more availability zones.
A region consists of two or more availability zones. Does anyone have a contrary idea or a better option?
No, I agree with him.
Okay, thank you. Correct. A region consists of two or more availability zone. Ms. Vera, second question to you.
Which factors should be considered when selecting a region? Select two. A. Compliance with data governance and legal requirements. B. Access to 24/7 technical support. C. Proximity to your customers. D. Ability to assign custom permissions to different users. E. Access to AWS Command Line interface. A and C.
Why did you choose A and C? You must be able to tell us why.
Okay. As part of AWS global infrastructure requirements, we had four requirements during the class, of which the first and most important one was compliance. We said that even if all other factors tick for us and compliance does not tick, that means you cannot even go ahead to deploy your resources in that particular region. Okay. So that is why I'm picking compliance as the first option. Secondly, I'm picking proximity to your customers because in the options, although we picked the factors were proximity, the factors were compliance, availability, what's it say for?
Proximity,
pricing and proximity. Yes. So if you are in Nigeria, for example, and then which country is very far now from Nigeria? Australia, for example. So you know that in IT we're still trying to even reduce the latency, like the speed at which you receive your responses. So the closer the region is to you, the better for you and your organization. So that is why I'm going for proximity.
Thank you. Fantastic. Correct. Mr. Benedict, question 3 for you.
Okay. Yeah. Which statement best describe Amazon Cloud Front?
They can barely hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. The question said, which statement best describe Amazon Cloud Front? A service that enables you to run infrastructure in a hybrid cloud approach. A serverless compute engine for container. A service that enables you to send and receive message between software components. Okay, I've reached D. I thought CloudFront was the one you said has to do with you using your code. I wrote it down now.
You are asking me a question. Ask your colleagues. Maybe they can help you out.
Let me figure it out, and then let me just try.
CloudFront.
CloudFront.
Okay.
A service that enables you run infrastructure in a hybrid cloud approach, a serverless computing engine for container, a service that enables you to send and receive messages between software components through a queue, a global content delivery service. D.
It's a
Oh,
close.
through a queue. No, no,
Yeah.
no, no. I'll go. Yeah, I'll go for C.
Yeah, it's a global
Eh?
content delivery service, and that's when we're talking about edge locations.
Locations.
Okay, but sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, just to get clarity, I thought you said CloudFront was the one we could. You were trying to explain what we did with Vagrant and
No,
VS.
that's cloud formation. AWS cloud formation.
Sorry.
So this is like a notification
Yes,
service.
yes, thank you. That's for SNN.
SNN.
SNS.
NS.
Yes, and SQN or SQS.
Did we talk about CloudFront today?
No, we spoke about CloudFront in the last
Last
class.
class.
No wonder it's very using me to laugh.
That's why we say don't miss class and endeavor to
Sorry.
to watch your videos against the next
Definitely.
class. All right, Mr. Shola, take the next question.
So which site does Amazon CloudFront use to catch copies of content users as individual?
We can barely hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Uh, are you deafy? I can barely hear anything.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah.
All right. Which site does Amazon CloudFront use to catch copy content for faster delivery to users at the location? A region, B availability zone, C edge locations, then D origin. And the answer is edge location. You've
Thank,
answered it already in the third question.
all right, thank you. Edge location. So I think we have one more question. Which action can you perform with AWS Outpost? This should go to Mr. Triumph. I know it's only that Mr. Triumph, and because Benedict and Mr. Shola were not in the class yesterday, the last class, but this thing was treated in the last class. So, Mr. Triumph, can you take this? Which action can you perform with AWS Outpost?
Uh, okay. Sorry, let me read the options. Automate actions for AWS service application to extend AWS infrastructure on on-premises. I believe it should be B.
You always use that belief. You must be certain. All right.
The
Okay.
answer, I think, is B.
It is
Okay,
B.
you two
It
think you
is
are not
B.
sure.
No,
I
All
remember,
right.
sir.
no,
Sir,
I remember that.
yesterday
It is
we
B.
talked about outpost. Now we said it's like if we want AWS to bring like our own cloud to our own
Their
data
service
center.
to our department. Exactly.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So you should not think, you should be sure.
Okay, we are sure.
All right. So
Well,
it's having AWS in your a mini AWS. Like I was saying that requesting for home service of a say for instance your hairdresser or barber coming to your house to do it. So you can invite AWS that everything AWS have in their cloud, come and put it in my own data center. I want to have a mini AWS. Fantastic. So next class, which is going to be interesting. You know, I'm a network engineer, so I love networking. Introduction to networking in AWS. We're going to be doing one or two fantastic practicals here as well. So thank you for coming
Okay.
to. Okay, somebody want to ask a question? Please do.
No.
All right. I don't want to keep us too long. And then some people are already having videos pending. Go and watch your videos. Get up and running with those terminologies. They are majorly those terminologies: AZ, availability zone, what it means, a data center or group of data centers within a region, what a region is, what is an edge location, how does it relate to AWS CloudFront and content delivery networks, understanding AWS Outpost, know how do we provision resources in AWS, the AWS Management Console, the AWS SDKs and the CLI, then understanding Elastic Beanstalk, Cloud Formation, and so on and so forth. Thank you for coming to class. Next class, we're going to be going into introduction to networking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, good night.
Okay, all right, bye. Huh? Eh, uh, she's my student now. She's my student. So, there are plenty now. Guys, like there are three or four there. They didn't come to class today. Oh, thank you, Jesus. I hope this thing was